Hi everyone, I'm Eric and I'm starting a PhD at Stanford in machine learning next week. COVID is still going on, so things are going to be a little different. I did move on campus 2 weeks ago. The moment I drove on, it was clear that it was not going to be a regular year. It was dead. I did my first COVID test a week ago, came back negative. And it was like a scene from a movie, walking into the school gym where people were getting tests. I wanted to share a little bit of what it's been like so far and what it's going to be like throughout this journey going back to school, maybe to help people navigate their own experiences, decide if they want to go back to school throughout this pandemic, and I thought it'd be a little fun to kind of share about it. Now, Stanford is doing everything mostly virtual. Now, they do treat undergrads and graduates differently, and they had this complicated system for undergrads before, rotating on campus, but they scrapped all that and made undergrads completely virtual. And graduates, which is what concerns me, that plan hasn't really changed. That's all virtual classes and mostly virtual research. But graduate students do get to live on campus. For me, I'm more on the software side, so it's really not that much of a difference. Now, what has changed as of August 28th is this restricted zone setups where the public cannot go through, students need to show their IDs visibly, and have to have a reason to be on campus. So that part did concern me. I didn't want it to feel like a war zone or like I was living in this authoritarian state that controlled where and when you went places. The other controversial thing that Stanford implemented was this campus compact. And it's essentially a student pledge to behave in a certain way and to not behave in a certain way, to social distance, wear a mask, not travel, but also things like not having guests in your apartment, which you would hope most people would want to do already, but it's the punishments and threat of eviction from your house that seem, for me, pretty overboard. If you go on Reddit for Stanford, you'll see students talking about how they disagree. You'll see lots of emails through campus about wanting to change the compact and how it's unfair. So it's very much an active debate within the Stanford community. It's been dead on campus, but in some ways it's nice. In other ways, it's not so friendly. People walk around, don't really say hello. Yeah, that sucks. But there are less people on campus, less tourists. The restrictions of people and the signs everywhere did make people want to come on campus less often. But if you do come on campus and roam around, it's kind of nice to have like this big old backyard you get to kind of walk and stroll around with. What I was most concerned with was, am I going to get harassed by campus security or police about being on campus or sitting on the grass? And so far, fortunately, I've had none of that. The testing has been pretty seamless. Stanford requires new students to take the test the first day they arrive and 1 week afterwards. Setting it up is kind of difficult at first. It's still, a learning process for them, but the actual test itself was done quick. I got an email within a couple of days saying that I was negative, and it's pretty smooth. One of the most important things before starting a PhD is finding an advisor to work with. And at Stanford, you don't actually have to commit to a single one before starting. You get to rotate between labs and try them out. And so what you have is this sort of speed dating kind of system where you match with someone you find interesting, and if you guys both agree afterwards, then you get to work with them for the rest of your PhD. It's one of the main reasons why I chose Stanford. was to be able to try out a lab for 3 months and try out 3 different labs over the year before committing. To be able to find a professor whose personality I fit with, in addition to the topic of research itself. Now, what becomes challenging during a pandemic is how you network and how you reach out to these professors. You miss that face-to-face time. Now you have to do it virtually and purely just through Zoom. I reached out to probably like around 100 people, a lot of them PhDs, a lot of them professors, and really asked about their lab. Some takeaways that I learned from these meetings were that I think people were surprisingly pretty honest about their labs and working with those professors or their teammates. So I think it's okay to ask about how well people work together. Have there been drama issues between lab mates or professors? And I think it paid off. I was able to secure a couple of really cool rotations. The first one is on exoskeletons for people who have difficulty walking. That would involve a computer vision system to identify dangerous obstacles and help people avoid them. Overall, it's super fun to be here. I'm really fortunate to be back in school and at Stanford. And yeah, it sucks not to be in person meeting folks, but life goes on. You gotta make the best of things, right? So this was my first video. If you liked it, feel free to click like. If not, and I do plan to make future videos. My next one's gonna be on how I switched into machine learning in my mid-30s and how I got into a PhD program for machine learning. In the meantime, I start in a few days, so wish me luck and thanks for listening.